On an island off the coast of West Cork, there's a boatyard that's been welding, servicing and building vessels since 2004, and a power problem that was slowly eating the business alive. This is how one family on the edge of the Atlantic took control of their energy and future-proofed their business for the next generation. This film is available in several alternative audio languages and subtitles. Just click the cog to change the settings. Bere Island sits just south of Ireland. Getting here means a ferry. Getting anything done here means dealing with the realities of island life, and that includes power.
We had 3-phase on site because my father had a fish farm. We were doing abalone before. So that was very unique to have a 3-phase supply on an island.
It sounds like an advantage, and it was up to a point. But as the boatyard grew, the supply simply couldn't keep up.
When we started, we had 40 kilowatts was our income. And the crane alone, with a tower crane here, the crane was taking 100 kilowatts. With a compressor taking 25 kilowatts.
Running a crane and multiple compressors on a supply that was already at its limit meant the voltage was constantly dropping. Sensitive equipment cannot handle that, and on a working boatyard, the consequences were costly.
We had 100% overload for half the time when we were at the edge. We were blowing motors and it was costing us a fortune.
And when the grid went down, everything stopped. Except here, stopping is not an option. There's a dry dock 7 metres below sea level, and it has to stay dry.
We always had a backup, so we didn't stop. We kept going because we couldn't stop, because if you have a boat inside the dock and you have disturbance through boat or a hole in her, if the water comes up, she's gone. We can't afford it.
For years, the answer was diesel, a 250 kVA generator running as a backup, covering the heavy loads the grid couldn't handle. It kept things moving, but the bill kept growing.
When we started back in 2004-5, it was costing us about €80 to pump out the dock. Diesel was 25 cents a litre. So it's exponentially gone cuckoo. So we looked around to see how could we sort out our running costs. We have to make our business future-proof.
Being on an island adds another layer. Everything costs more to bring over, and when energy prices spiked after the war in Ukraine, the pressure became unsustainable.
When the war started, our electricity went up to €18,500. That's unsustainable. Just in one bang from 8,000 to 18,500 is just ridiculous. We could not do it. There was no surviving in the business. We would fall off a cliff.
Gerard had looked at solar before. An early attempt with panels on the wrong side of a shed had cost him €40,000 in lost generation. That experience has taught him something important. The technology is only as good as the people installing it.
We started with the product first. We started with Victron actually, because we were used to playing with Victron on the fishing boats. They had chargers and so on and so forth, so we knew that there was a backup attached to it, so that was very important for us.
They attended a Victron training course on the mainland, where they were introduced to what a modern hybrid Victron energy system could actually do. That's also where they met Maciej Bański from Energy Freedom Systems.
Their vision was very, very interesting. You know, they had done it in smaller companies with other ones, so that to me was very, very important. I was delighted with it. It was way more than what I expected.
Before a single panel went up, Maciej's process starts with data. Not a rough estimate of what the site was using, but 4 months of real measurements.
What I'm interested in the most is the peak power, peak load, because this is the key number to size the system.
For Bere Island Boatyard, that data reveals a particularly unusual load pattern. Most businesses quiet down overnight, as people go home. This one, however, can't afford to.
Most important thing for this place is to keep the dry dock dry. As it's 7 meters below sea level, that place cannot afford losing power because it would have got flooded and would destroy a lot of equipment. Overnight, depending on the weather condition, if there is a rain and wind blowing in more water into the dock, we could even consume 30 to 50 kilowatt hours overnight, keeping the dock dry.
The solution is built around Victron energy equipment, and it is substantial. On the main dock building, an east-west solar PV setup feeds into a 40 kilowatt grid tie inverter. Behind the boatyard, there's a ground-mounted array.
It's a ground-mounted array of 280 solar PV panels bifacial, driven by 3 Fronius Eco 27 kilowatt.
Bifacial panels are worth explaining. They generate power from both sides, picking up reflective light from the ground below. On a ground-mounted setup, that extra efficiency genuinely adds up. All that solar generation feeds into a purpose-built container that is the heart of the power system.
In the container, there is a Victron Energy system, 180 kVA, built of Quattro 15 kVA, 12 units, and the battery bank that contains 18 units, 16 kilowatt hour each of storage, lithium batteries.
288 kilowatt hours of lithium iron phosphate storage, and to handle the current moving through the system at peak loads, Matchie's team had to fabricate something custom.
We are dealing here with up to 2000 amps, so we had to build bespoke busbars based on 1000 square millimeters pure copper busbars, so they can easily deal with our amps without any voltage loss at peak power.
The existing 250 kVA diesel generator remains in the system, but its role has completely changed. It no longer runs to cover the grid's shortfalls. Now it's a safety net controlled entirely by the Victron Energy Serbo GX.
It's programmed to stand by, kicking in, charging batteries like a cruise control in the car. It's charging up the batteries and shutting down. There is no idling, there is no inefficient fuel burning.
What ties everything together is Victron's Dynamic ESS. It's an algorithm that manages when the system draws from solar, when it uses stored battery power, and when it buys from the grid, always choosing the cheapest available source.
System decides when to purchase energy, when to sell energy, how much to buy. System is self-learning. We can see the improvement over weeks and weeks.
The goal is not to trade energy for profit, but to use as much of what the site generates as possible.
At the beginning, I was a bit reluctant to use it on such a big operation as is Bere Island Boatyard, because they can't afford lose of energy or shortage of power, so I was just playing with the settings remotely. Day by day I saw progress, and I saw Dynamic ESS running basically plays by itself. Dynamic ESS basically tries to use cheapest available energy, which is either solar PV or the nitrate of the grid, especially in the winter.
The results have been immediate and tangible. A boat valued at €4.5 million was brought into the dock after being built in the Netherlands. The engineer on board commented that it was the most stable shore power the vessel had experienced since leaving the shipyard.
We had the exact opposite before, because we plugged boats in and they were dipping. And the boats that we were dealing with are fishing boats, and they're very high spec. the radars and sonars and all sorts of stuff in them. And they cannot have voltage fluctuation because it blows them. It blows the machines. And it has happened to us. So it was a huge cost to us when it goes wrong.
The wider financial picture is also becoming clearer. The full system cost around €230,000. Gerard expects the payback period to be 5 to 6 years, and possibly sooner if energy prices continue to rise.
And it was more important to get the right people that if something went wrong, they'd fix it, and that the products we could add and that we'd have support in that. That for me was critical.
And on remote access, which matters when your installer is not on the island with you every day, Victron's VRM portal is central to how Matchy manages the system.
I can do 90% of my work remotely. Other manufacturers are way behind Victron that way.
Gerard's ambitions do not stop at the fence of the boatyard. He sees what he has built here as the first step in something much larger for his own business and for the island as a whole.
I intend to keep moving it on because it's been a resounding success. One of our biggest problems coming in here is transport, because we're living on an island. Everything is maybe 30% more expensive. We have 2 vessels. They're costing about €30,000 a year per run. So it is an economic thing. We put more solar, more batteries, and we want to get that technology into the vessels. We have a perfect position here because the boats are coming to us. Okay, so if we have something that we can show them, the skippers will say, "Oh yeah, Jesus, that's working."
Community of Bere Island, it's slightly different to the communities on the mainland, and they would love to get completely independent. They are looking into getting renewable energy as their main source of energy rather than using grid.
It's not lost on Gerard that what has been built here is something rare. A working demonstration on a working island, that energy independence is achievable and worth it.
We're the first generation that can produce electricity ourselves. So my thing is, cut off the power, have control, invest in it. It's just upfront investment. It's one of the best things I've ever done.
Bere Island Boatyard is a business built on the water, shaped by the demands of the sea, and now powered by the sky. What started as a problem with a leaking dock and an overloaded grid has become something far more significant. Proof that even on an island, energy independence is not just possible, it's the smart play.